No, it's fine.
Okay.
I'll just re-ask that one question. So last night was the first public discussion of that campus swap. It's a little early, I think, to say that there's enough information on it. But how did you feel about that issue once you had heard the presentations last night?
Well, I think that it's a lot to take in, first of all, but I think that I was definitely concerned when I read the News Gazette article where it sort of presented the IPA parents as really being in favor of the swap, and that's absolutely false. Even the parents that were there really advocating for the K through 8, and I'm one of them, we definitely do want a K through 8. We do feel like the district really promised a K through 8 when they started IPA, and that the research really shows that that kind of commitment is necessary to really produce the results that you want with a dual language program. And so we do definitely want a K through 8, but in no way do we want to have this at the expense of the Garden Hills community. And that's in no way a fair representation of the parents that presented at the board meeting last night, or all the parents that I've heard through our communication with our PTA members.
What, if you were going to say, here is our narrative, here is how we feel about this proposal, what would you say?
I would say that for the IPA parents that came to the board meeting last night or read the article, we were very disappointed because, our push to, promote what IPA is doing. We love the school. We are big proponents of dual language education. And we've been working on this for a long time, really wanting to see our school become a K through 8. And we really felt like having it presented in this way where, we were kind of taking over another community in order to get our K through 8 school, that's absolutely not what we wanted, and we were not consulted for that. I would also just add that what makes IPA so great is that it is a culturally responsive educational model. And so it used to be that students who were learning a second language were looked at from a sort of deficiency framework. Like now we have to teach these kids English, right? And now what we do in the dual language educational model is we say, actually, these kids have tremendous knowledge and cultural capital that they bring every single day to school. And the entire curriculum is built around that concept. It centers the children's knowledge and cultural capital that they bring to school and allows the children to teach each other. And that's why the school is so successful. And there's absolutely no reason you couldn't use that same idea. Maybe it's not about language, but it's still valuing the children's cultural capital, their knowledge that they're bringing in, and really elevating that and centering the curriculum around that. They could do that very well at Garden Hills. I will tell you that my friends came to visit me from Spain this September, and they had never been to the US before. And at the top of their list of what they wanted to see, and this is a country, this is the top tourist destination in the world, right? There are so many cultural gems that people from all over the world want to go see in Spain, right? But for them, what they wanted to see when they came to New York City, they wanted to go to a black church and see a gospel choir sing in person. And this was something that they recognized. They crossed an ocean to see this, right? And how many of our district staff, how many of our administrators really have been to our local black churches and been able to, show in the curriculum, in the design of the curriculum, that is a value, that's a gem, that's absolutely precious in our community, and that this part of our community is really precious. There's no reason you couldn't have that same model to really lift up a school like Garden Hills, and then you wouldn't have a problem of it being underchosen, because it would be a beacon of the community, a cultural resource, which would, of course, naturally draw people from the university who would want to come. You could have the center of African American culture and history, and that's, Garden Hills Center of African American Culture and History, right? And then everybody would be clamoring to get into that school. And so there's this idea that, we need to sort of save the children in Garden Hills and pull them out or something, and pull them out, and like there's nothing of value there. And I really reject that. And I think that a lot of IPA families would agree with me in rejecting that. And that's not what IPA is about. That's the reason IPA is successful, is because we don't do that. And so I have not taken a survey of all the parents, but definitely the people who were there, that does not represent their sentiment that they, want to have the K-8 at the expense of the Garden Hills community.
Yeah, and I think that sums up so many things so well, because there is that desire for that to be expanded into the K-8 that it was originally said that it would be, but it's also nobody talked about back then. Well, maybe we'll go to Garden Hills to do that.
Yeah, definitely. As far, and I don't I did talk to some of the Garden Hills teachers last night because I was sitting next to them. They said they didn't know about it until Friday evening. It sounds like the community members were not consulted. We were definitely not consulted as IPA parents. I know that the district has a lot of things that they're trying to figure out with regard to the costs and, the schools of choice model and all of these sorts of things. I get that, but I think that something like this really needs to start with conversations in the community. It can't sort of be announced and then those conversations happen afterward.
Mm-hmm. Like an afterthought?
Right, because it makes it sound like the solutions are with the administration, and we know that for the people who are working with the children every day, that would be the teachers and all of the staff in the school, the families, of course. Those are their children, their precious children. They want the best for them, and so the families are a real resource. There are a lot of people in the community. There are church members. I talked last night afterward, actually. I went up after the meeting and I apologized to Minnie Pearson of the NAACP because I didn't actually know about that letter. Because I don't receive the News Gazette, even though I do follow the NAACP on Facebook, but it wasn't communicated that way, so I didn't know about that. And I apologized to her directly and said, this is not what we wanted. It's not what the IPA parents wanted. And we stand in solidarity, absolutely, with Garden Hills parents and community members, and we will not support any sort of proposal that expands IPA to their detriment. That will not happen. So.
Absolutely. Is there anything else that you want to add?
Yeah, I think that last night Lindsay Aikman said something that really, summed it up. She said that, why don't we have more committees that are composed of community members, of parents, of all the various stakeholders that really are the ones that are driving these decisions. It doesn't mean that we don't value the expertise that our administrators, our school staff are bringing to the table. We absolutely value their expertise, and we are paying our taxes to support these people, and we do value their expertise. But the bottom line is that community schools are just that. They're community schools, and so the ideas need to be based in the community. For example, there's a magnet school at Garden Hills. Who was involved in developing the ideas for that magnet proposal? Was the community consulted? Were local churches consulted? Were the parents of the families that send their kids to the school, were they consulted in terms of what would be an ideal proposal that would really work for that community? And I think just leaving people out of the decision making, it's just going to lead to failure every single time. And so I just want to encourage the district to see us as a resource. And that's what Lindsay Aikman said last night. Look to us. We're here. We care so much about this community. I care about IPA, obviously, but actually I live in this community. I love this community. I care about the Garden Hills community, and I want the district to look at us as parents, as community members, as a resource. We're here to offer ideas to help them avoid things like this where they present a proposal and they really just upset a lot of people and sort of almost pit two communities who are also struggling, by the way. I mean, IPA does not have, in terms of like the free and reduced lunch population, it's not quite as high as Garden Hills, but it's one of the highest in the district. It's the same as, so I think it's 70%. It's the same as Stratton and Booker T. Washington. So we are a very high need school too. And we have a lot of concerns and issues too. Even though it's a great school, we do have a lot of things that we need too. And there's nothing to be gained by pitting a community like IPA and a community like Garden Hills against each other. There's nothing to be gained. These are two communities that have a tremendous amount in common in terms of the things that they're struggling against. And the solutions, there's a lot of overlap in terms of the solutions. And we just need to be valued. Our ideas, our input, our concerns need to be the very center of all the decision making. And so I just would like to encourage the district to have that perspective.
Absolutely. I think that summed up a lot.
Okay, good.
So I'm going to stop recording now.
Sure.
Okay.